Hello everyone. It's been a while since I've released any content on this channel, so I decided to go ahead and whip up a quick tier list. Alright, and I actually made a video that explains what each tier means to me. And so without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to try to make it quick. We'll see how quick it actually turns out. Alright, first off, on SmashTierList.com it's got Alex. So I'm just going to treat Alex as if Alex were a villager. I would put this character right in the middle of high tier, mid-high tier. I do think that Steve is overrated. I think I said villager before. I do think that Steve and Alex are overrated. I definitely think that their kit is strong, especially, you know, being able some of the block combos. But again, this character has a strong kit, but I do think that it's overrated. I think as the metagame progresses, people are going to find ways to deal with it, or there are game plans for dealing with Steve and people just don't want to do them. You know, for example, camping Steve, but people want to play aggressive, for example. So, but it doesn't change the fact that obviously this is the middle of high tier. This is a good, really good character. Alright, next up, the first character popping up is Alf, so I'll just treat it as like Alf and Olimar. I'm going to put Olimar, I would actually say, yeah, I'm going to put Olimar in, you know, the middle of top tier. Very, very good character. The Pikmin are just so good. Olimar's main strength is the small hitbox that Olimar has. Really, really benefits the character. Small hitbox. Obviously, the Pikmin give Olimar disjointed range. So you have a small character with good disjoints. Pretty good recovery. Exploitable, but a good recovery. And there's just a lot of things that Olimar has going for him. I mean, for the really good players, they can put themselves in a situation where they have 3 purple Pikmin. And Olimar with 3 purple Pikmin actually probably would jump to the top of top tier. So, I think this character is very, very good. Very good. Alright, next up is Banjo and Kazooie. I'm going to put Banjo and Kazooie at the bottom of top tier and low top tier. I think this character is actually extremely underrated, but I understand why. So, the thing about Banjo and Kazooie is if you play lame with them, if you stall and just zone and just run away, these characters are top tier. When you play lame, they're so good. It's actually so frustrating to deal with. A lot of Banjo-Kazooie players don't want to play lame, though. And I understand why. But when you play the character quote-unquote optimally, which is playing lame, this character has an incredibly good kit. Obviously, you have down special, you have neutral special. You have the disjoints with Kazooie. Kazooie is basically a sword. Pretty strong smash attacks. You've got a good back throw. You've got some down throw combos. And you've got side special. Really, again, if you play this character optimally, I have no doubt that they're at the bottom of top tier at the least. But they might be even higher than this. Alright, next up is Bayonetta. I'm actually going to put Bayonetta in high mid tier. Bayonetta has a good recovery. Bayonetta is actually a pretty decent zoner, thanks to the ability to use the bullets, which you count as disjoints as opposed to projectiles. Has some good aerial combos, and that's good in a game where being in disadvantage in the air is a bad thing. Most characters can only really air dodge or jump at a disadvantage. A lot of them don't have quick moves to get out, and air dodging can be punished pretty easily. So that's Bayonetta's strength. Mainly Bayonetta's issue is Bayonetta can struggle to deal with zoning. That's a big one. And zoning in Ultimate. Zoning is very, very good in Ultimate. Really good. So Bayonetta struggles to deal with zoning. Bayonetta, the big thing is Bayonetta can struggle to kill. Bayonetta can struggle to take a stock. And that's the big thing that really holds Bayonetta back from being a really, really scary character. But you can't sleep with Bayonetta. I mentioned this in my, explaining what each tier meant to me video, but if you don't know the matchup, every character rises 2 tiers. So a character who's in high mid, if you don't know the matchup, as far as you're concerned, I think that character is like a middle of high tier character. So if you don't know the Bayonetta matchup, and there aren't many Bayonetta players, practically Bayonetta is really middle of high tier. But if you do know the matchup, I do think that Bayonetta would fall high mid tier if you're familiar with that matchup. Next up is Bowser, and Bowser's going right in high mid tier for me. I actually think that Bowser's incredibly overrated. I think the main reason why he's overrated is because he's Bowser. But I do think this character is very overrated. Obviously, a pretty decent recovery. Great out of shield because of up special, Whirling Fortress. Some of the best kill power in the game. Flamethrower does a bunch of damage, the neutral special. Bowser has a lot of things going for him. Tough guy. The problem with Bowser is, there's a couple of problems, but the biggest problem is his disadvantage state is just really, really bad. He doesn't really have any good ways to get out of combos. And his recovery, it's kind of good, but it's not great, and so it's not too hard to go off stage and spike Bowser. He also doesn't really have any way to deal with zoning, so he's going to get zoned really hard. He's also going to struggle against disjoint characters. So zoners are going to zone him. Disjoint characters are going to outrange him, and some of his moves do have an intangibility, but that doesn't compare to a true disjoint character. Like, let's say, Martha Lucina. So zoners are going to zone him. Disjoint characters are going to outrange him. And, brawler characters, the more close-up characters, they have better frame data than Bowser. They're going to combo him for days. So he's got a lot of strengths, but a lot of weaknesses. I think of Bowser as the glass cannon of the heavies. So he ends up in a high mid tier. Next up is Bowser Jr., who also lands in a high mid tier. The buffs really help Bowser Jr. out quite a bit. Bowser Jr. used to be lower. Bowser Jr. has I would say a good but not great kit. I would say the main thing holding Bowser Jr. back is that recovery. Bowser Jr.'s recovery is incredibly exploitable. I think that really hurts the character. Bowser Jr. can also actually struggle to kill. Bowser Jr. has some pretty specific moves that will kill, but there are certain moves like forward air, for example, that don't kill as early as you might think they would. So, Bowser Jr., good character, but not a great one, and does have some very exploitable weaknesses. Alright, next up is Byleth. I'm actually putting Byleth at the top of high tier. I remember when Byleth first came out, everyone said, oh, this character's slow, they're not going to be very good. And then MKLeo picked up Byleth and just showed what the character can do. I think Byleth has a very, very strong kit, and if Byleth were faster or had a reflector, or let's say a better way to get a disadvantage, I think Byleth would be top tier. Obviously, Byleth has disjoints on everything. One of the best recoveries in the game, easily one of the best recoveries. And depending on the character you're playing, you don't want to try to edgeguard them because they can literally grab you with their up special and kill you. So they'll punish you for trying to edgeguard, depending on the character. They can zone with their neutral special. They can kill really early with their down special. This character just has a lot going for them. Again, they're just not very fast, and they can get zoned, and they don't have a reflector or anything to really deal with that. Next up is Captain Falcon. I'm going to put him in low-high tier. Captain Falcon, he's very fun to play in this game. Very fun to play. Comboing with Captain Falcon is incredibly fun. But he does have some problems that hold him back from being higher on the list. His recovery isn't very good. His disadvantage state's actually really bad. He's pretty quick, so he's normally good about not getting zoned. But for some of the better zoners, they can zone him. Another big problem is Captain Falcon's lack of range. A lot of sword disjoint characters are going to just outrange him consistently in neutral. They're going to keep winning those trades, and it's going to stack up for Falcon. So I can't put him any higher than high tier. I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do, Pokemon Trainer. I'm going to do each Pokemon separately, but also do them all together when I get to Pokemon Trainer. So first up is Charizard. Maybe this is a hot take. I'm going to put Charizard actually in mid-high tier. Under, of course, Alex and Steve. Charizard is... I actually think Charizard's very underrated. One of the quickest, and in my opinion, best up smashes in the game. Charizard has a pretty solid recovery. Charizard's neutral special is a worse version of Bowser's, but it's still pretty good. Up throw kills, forward throw and back throw are good for edge guarding. Down throw is great for comboing. There's that fear factor of Flare Blitz. Bowser has disjoints thanks to the wings and thanks to its tail fire. I actually think that Charizard has a lot going for it. I think this character is underrated. Alright, next up is going to be Chrom. I am actually going to go ahead and put Chrom in low top tier. I think that Chrom is another character who's a very, very underrated. Chrom got nerfed, and ever since then, people kind of just gave up on the character. Even though technically the nerf wasn't that bad in the sense that it's called the Chromicide. You can still do the Chromicide, just hard to pull off. But this character, I think, is very underrated. I do think that Chrom is better than Roy. Roy has a better recovery, and because of the sweet spot sour spot mechanic, Roy can get better combos. But I do think that Chrom is the better character, and I do think Chrom is underrated. Chrom's main weakness would be, his recovery is exploitable, and it's just not that good in general. So gimping him, that's his main weakness. He has the speed to get around zoners. He obviously is a sword character, so disjoint characters usually aren't a problem for him. And he outranges a lot of the more brawler, rushdown type characters. So, he's actually, I think he's a very good character. Next up is Cloud, and I'm gonna actually put Cloud also in low top tier. I think Cloud's a solid character, even with the nerfs Cloud got from Smash 4 Ultimate. I think Cloud's a really good character. I would say the best thing that Cloud has going for himself is easily the ability to pressure using Limit. Limit essentially forces the opponent to approach. Now, obviously, Limit only lasts like 15 seconds in this game compared to Smash 4 where it lasted forever. But he can just use Limit and then charge it again. And just rinse and repeat. Limit really, really buffs this character. But aside from Limit, obviously, pretty decent frame data. Some of Cloud's moves have just great hitbox duration. A pretty good projectile and neutral special. Obviously, Limit, the Limit moves greatly enhance his kit. The only thing really holding Cloud back is his lack of a good recovery. That's the one thing that holds him back. But still, he has got so much going for him. And so I definitely am comfortable putting him in low top tier. Alright, next up is going to be Corrin. Corrin's going to be a tricky one. I think I'm going to put Corrin more towards the top of low-high tier. Corrin has really good range depending on the attack, like forward smash, for example, and pin. A really good projectile and neutral special. Pretty good recovery that can be hard to mess with to do some intangibility and whatnot. A good counter. Corrin's main thing is just, again, not very fast. Corrin definitely can get zoned very, very hard. That's the main thing. But Corrin, I think, has a pretty strong kit. Again, the character just... if they were a little bit faster or had a reflector of some sort, that would really boost them up. But still, very solid character. Alright, next up is going to be Daisy. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and put Daisy right at the top of top tier. I think that this character is incredibly underrated ever since Samsora left the Smash community. I think Peach and Daisy are just incredibly good characters, and it's not just, people will mention that like, oh, Float's broken, and Float's really good, but it's not just Float. There are other things that Peach and Daisy have. So, for example, if I'm correct, almost all of their kit is disjointed. Back air is disjointed, forward air is disjointed, up air is disjointed. Just an abundance of disjointed moves. Turnip is really, really good. Just getting turnip and throwing it, because you can throw it in any direction, left, right, up, down. When someone's trying to recover, going down and throwing turnip. You can even do a couple of those. You can set up. Combining turnip with down smash at the ledge. Or counter, Like, Float is really, really good, but even if you remove Float, you would still have a solid, like, high-tier character, in my personal opinion. Maybe, like, low-high tier, granted, but you'd still have a high-tier character even if you just remove Float. So, all in all, just this character has so much going for them. Not a perfect character, obviously, on the lighter side. Does die early, but still, just a very, very good kit. Alright, next up is going to be Dark Samus. I'm going to go ahead and put Dark Samus in a low top tier. I think Samus is an incredibly good character. I mentioned before that I think zoning is really good in this game. And Dark Samus and Samus are exactly what I have in mind. These characters are incredibly good. Obviously, really strong zoning with side special. The pressure that neutral special puts upon your opponent is another thing. Samus is a floaty, despite being heavy. So, being heavy, Samus can survive to really late percents. But also, because Samus is floaty, she can really go in for some crazy edge guarding shenanigans. And then recover. And that's another thing. Her recovery is really good. Screw attack is really good. She's got her grapple. It's really good. So she has a really good recovery, and I've seen Samus's recover from places where I thought to myself, I didn't think they'd survive from that. Also, down throw is really good for combos. Forward throw and back throw are really good for edge guarding. Up throw kills for some reason. I don't know why, but up throw kills. Great combos game. Up air is really good. There's just honestly, this character can get really, really nuts. And so I don't feel comfortable putting this character anywhere lower than low top tier. I think this character is incredibly good. Alright, next up is going to be Dark Pit. And I'm going to go ahead and put Dark Pit right in high mid tier. The thing about Dark Pit, and really both of the pits, I think their kit is kind of good. Obviously, they have disjoints and there are two really big points in their favor. If you were thinking of maybe picking them up, these are, in my opinion, the two best reasons to pick them up. The first reason is their lingering hitboxes. Their hitboxes tend to be out for a long time. The second reason is multi-hits. Because many of the pit moves are multi-hits, it's really good for it's really good for dealing with opponents who are good at parrying. Because of the multi-hit nature. Or can be. So those are the two reasons I recommend playing the pits. They're also pretty good edge guarders. They do have their flaws, though, which is why they're so low on the list. Their recoveries are exploitable. There's no sort of hitbox. I think there's a couple of frames of intangibility, but that's really it. Not much to show for it. They're on the light, not that light, but they're still going to die relatively early. They can also struggle to get at disadvantage. The multiple jumps help, and they do have their down special, but they can still struggle. They have a reflector, which helps with zoning, but that reflector can break. They can struggle to kill. Their forward throw is pretty good, and down throw is good, but up throw and back throw just kind of meh. Basically, this character has some good strengths, but their flaws really hold them back from being any higher than high mid tier. Alright, next up is going to be Diddy Kong. Okay, I'm going to put Diddy Kong, I would say, the top of high tier. Banana is really good. Banana is... you can do some sick things with Banana. I mentioned Peach and Daisy's turnip. Banana can get out of control. Diddy Kong has a small hurt box, so that's also really beneficial. Very mobile, good but exploitable recovery. But you can do some really interesting mind games with those barrels, as you can control them, and a lot of people don't know that you can control the barrels. So, or if they knew, they forgot, and so you can use that to your advantage. I would say the main flaws of Diddy Kong are just a lack of range because of those short, stubby arms. And Diddy Kong, it's difficult, but Diddy Kong can get zoned. Obviously, this character is small and mobile, but there are some characters who can actually zone Diddy Kong. So, I'd put Diddy Kong at the top of high tier. I have a pretty optimistic opinion of Diddy Kong. I wouldn't put Diddy Kong any higher, though. A character that I'm not so optimistic about is Donkey Kong. I'm going to put Donkey Kong in high mid tier. The thing about Donkey Kong is, I think Donkey Kong has one of the best advantage states in the game. Donkey Kong's advantage states it's crazy. It can eat so much that Donkey Kong can do. The problem is Donkey Kong has, in my opinion, the worst disadvantage state in the game. It is awful. Like, Donkey Kong to me is... Donkey Kong is one of the most polarizing characters in this game, along with, like, Little Mac. Because Donkey Kong's advantage state is just crazy, but Donkey Kong's disadvantage state is just awful. Same thing for Donkey Kong's recovery. Good horizontal recovery, awful vertical recovery. It's just really bad. So, this character, Donkey Kong can do some crazy things, but then he'll find himself at disadvantage. I remember there was one stock I was playing with a friend, and I zero-deathed them. And then immediately when they came back, they zero-deathed me. And it's just like, that's Donkey Kong for you. He can do some incredible things when he has his opponent in disadvantage. And then his opponent gets him in disadvantage, he makes one mistake, and loses the stock for it. So, can't put this character any higher than high mid tier. Dr. Mario, another character who's going in high mid tier. Obviously, as everyone knows, Dr. Mario's recovery is one of the worst in the game. It's not very good. Dr. Mario also isn't that fast. But Dr. Mario, a character who on paper should be way lower, does have some things going for him. He does have the armor of a down special that really helps. And Dr. Tornado in general is a really good move. Dr. Mario can deal with projectiles thanks to side special. You've got Pill, you can use that for zoning. Dr. Mario has really good frame data and also kills surprisingly early at times, along with a small hurt box. So this character obviously does have his flaws, but also has some pretty surprising strengths. Next up is Duck Hunt Dog, and I'm going to go ahead and put Duck Hunt Dog in the middle of high tier. Duck Hunt Dog, obviously zoning I think is really good in this game, and Duck Hunt Dog has access to that. Obviously the duck does increase and give Duck Hunt a little bit of a disjoint. I don't remember. I think the duck does have a hurt box on certain moves. I can't recall, but solid zoning character, exploitable recovery, but you can actually use the can to cover it. The smash attacks have good range. Throws are kind of meh. But overall, because of how good zoning is in Ultimate, I think that Duck Hunt belongs somewhere in high tier. All right, next up is Falco, and I'm gonna go ahead and put Falco also right in the middle of high tier. Falco is a really good character, but again, does have some weaknesses holding him back. Falco has a pretty good recovery. Not as good as like Fox's, but a pretty good recovery. I actually think of Falco as the prince of frame trapping, because some of those up tilt frame traps you can do, up tilt, up air, frame traps, those are just really, really good. Really good projectile, neutral special. But Falco does have his flaws, which is why I put him in the middle of high tier. Falco, as far as kill throws go, can struggle to kill because of the nature of Falco's throws. Falco is really, this is the major flaw of Falco. Falco lacks range. And so many disjoint characters are going to outrange Falco. And, in fact, even some brawler characters can outrange Falco. Falco's down special helps deal with projectiles, but because of the nature of that reflector, certain zoners can kind of bypass it. So it's a good reflector, but it's not a great one, and certain zoners can take advantage of that. But really, this character's the thing they have to worry about more so is disjoint characters. Falco can also struggle to kill, so there's that. So I would put Falco in the middle of high tier. Alright, let's see here. Next up is going to be Fox. I'm going to go ahead and put Fox in borderline top tier. Fox is a pretty interesting character. So, on the one hand, he has an exploitable recovery. It's a good recovery, but it's exploitable. Fox can struggle to kill outside of some pretty specific setups. Fox can struggle to kill, using throws, for example, also. Fox's projectile is good, but because there's no hit stun or anything, some opponents just ignore it. So Fox does have weaknesses, but at the same time, Fox has some really good strengths. Fox has some incredible combos thanks to up tilt, up air, nair to up smash combos. Fox is a character who does have some pretty glaring weaknesses, but Fox's strengths outweigh the weaknesses and make this character definitely worth looking into. So I'd put Fox in borderline top tier. This character, man, so much explosive potential, right? And there's another character who a lot of people put as top tier because this character has explosive potential too. The problem is that, that character has a much worse flaws than Fox. For example, Fox's disadvantage state, it's not good, but it's not really bad either. Fox has nair. He can stall out disadvantage with his down special. He can maybe side special out disadvantage and reset on ledge. He's got options. Whereas, the other character I have in mind doesn't. So I'd say borderline high tier. Next up is Greninja. And Greninja is going in a high mid tier, which might disappoint some people. Greninja has some things going for himself, but also has some pretty notable flaws. Greninja's out of shield is just not very good at all. Exploitable recovery with no hitbox. The water helps, but not by much. No reflector. Obviously, you have a substitute, which can help, but no true reflector or anything like that. Some of Greninja's moves are disjointed, but for the most part, Greninja's going to be getting outranged by disjoint characters. Greninja's frame data also isn't that good. It's not bad, but it's not that good. So, unfortunately, Greninja kind of lands itself in high mid tier. Alright, next up is Hero, and I'm going to put Hero also in borderline high tier, or top tier. Borderline top tier. Hero is the character who just has some real jank. Obviously, Hero does have flaws, but has some real jank. There's the fear factor of critical hit when you're using the smash attacks. There's menu, and you don't know what the Hero player is going to get. But ultimately, Hero is kind of similar to Fox, where this character does have some weaknesses. Their recovery is exploitable, not very fast, but the strengths of this character outweigh the weaknesses. And so I'll put Hero in borderline top tier. Alright. Next up is going to be Ganondorf. This might surprise some people, but I'm actually going to put Ganondorf in mid-high tier. I think Ganondorf is underrated. Not to say he's good, but I think he's underrated. Ganondorf is a character who is incredibly good at punishing mistakes that players make. And so, he has potential as a counterpick character. Let's say you pick up on certain mistakes your opponent's making, and you think, man, if I had a character who can hit really, really hard and punish this, that, and the other, well, Ganondorf is the character for you. A punish game, honestly, like no other. It's just so incredibly good. Obviously, Ganondorf has a ton of flaws, the bad recovery, the bad disadvantage, and whatnot. But, again, Ganondorf's niche is a punish character, again, like no other. Also, kill power, like no other. I mean, the Doria has become a meme, but forward smash is just incredibly good. Really, all of his smash attacks. So, yeah, I'd put Ganondorf in high mid-tier. Next up are Ice Climbers. I'm actually going to put Ice Climbers in a borderline high tier. This character is really interesting. So, obviously, we've all seen the Twitter Ice Climber combos, how crazy they can get. We've yet to really see that, in a consistent way in tournament, though. Good recovery. I think the best strength of the character, in my personal opinion, is because both characters are attacking and putting out hitboxes, many of their attacks have very good hitbox duration. To me, the best example of this is Ice Climbers up tilt. I love their up tilt. Both Ice Climbers put up, the hammer, and the hitbox is just out forever. I think it's great. I really do. So as far as hitbox duration, very good. Obviously, they have one of the worst projectiles in the game, in my opinion. Not very fast. They can get zoned. They have disjoints, but there are other characters with better disjoints. So for a disjoint character, their range is pretty low. But I'd put them in borderline high tier. I definitely think this character has some potential. Next up is Ike. Where would I put Ike? Grabbing a quick snack. Alright, I've decided. I'm going to put Ike at the very top of high tier. So, the thing about Ike, he's a character who, he has a couple of flaws that if your character has a kit that can exploit that, his kit can kind of fall apart. But a lot of characters, there's that fear factor with Ike. His moves, not as strong as Ganondorf, but they're still pretty strong. But also, unlike Ganondorf, everything he has is disjoint. That's the main strength. Ike's throws, they're okay. They could be worse. They definitely could be better. But the main strength of this character is pretty good combos for a sword character. Again, great kill power, a surprisingly good advantage state. Man, those Ike up airs, Ike's up airs, that can get really scary really fast. The move is so strong, even if it's staled, it still can kill at a surprising percent. So I'm going to put Ike at the top of high tier. He does have an exploitable recovery. That's really the big thing holding the character back. Also, he can get zoned. Those are, to me, the two strengths and weaknesses of the character. Otherwise, though, Ike's a very good character. And again, there's that fear factor that your opponents have when fighting him. Alright, next up is going to be Incineroar. I'm actually going to put Incineroar in the middle of high tier. Incineroar is the character that's really interesting. When the game first came out, everyone was like, oh, Incineroar is bad. But I've noticed as the time has gone, between the buffs and also, Incineroar players just doing really well in tournament and getting results. I think like SkyJ, for example. I've noticed Incineroar rising on a lot of players' tier lists. But to me, ever since a certain patch, I've thought Incineroar is like somewhere in high tier. So let me explain why Incineroar is so good so as to be in middle of high tier. Incineroar is, his niche in my opinion is, he's a heavy with a great disadvantage state. Revenge comes out frame 3. He has a frame 5 Nair. I believe up special you get armor starting on frame 4. Incineroar's disadvantage state is one of the best in the game. That might surprise you, I understand, he's a heavy character. But as someone who, plays Incineroar, he has one of the best disadvantage states in the game. If you want to play a heavy character who also isn't, unlike Bowser, isn't going to get comboed for days, pick Incineroar. Great disadvantage state. Again, I think one of the best in the game. I think that's the main strength of the character. And I think for good Incineroars, pushing that good disadvantage state into great is what really is going to help you really get far in tournament. That'd be the main reason I recommend playing the character. Other than that, obviously, all of his throws are good. Like, all of his throws are really good. Incineroar doesn't really have a single bad move. Like, truthfully, I don't want to sound like I'm kissing up to Incineroar too much. Let's talk about Incineroar's flaws. Incineroar's main flaw is he's too slow. That's his main flaw, he's too slow. A technique called foxtrotting can help. But Incineroar is just too slow. That's his main weakness. If he were faster, I'd say he'd be top tier. So he's too slow. But other than his lack of speed, he's an incredibly good character. And by too slow, I don't mean his frame data. He also has really good frame data. Just his movement speed and air speed are what hold him back. Next up is Isabelle. I'm actually going to go ahead and put Isabelle at the top of high tier. This is a really, really hot take, I know. But I actually think Isabelle's incredibly underrated. I'm gonna list why. Isabelle has a small hurt box, is kind of slow, but not that slow relative to how small the hurt box is. All of Isabelle's moves are disjointed. Isabelle doesn't have a single move that isn't disjointed. So you have a small character with many disjoints, just like Olimar. Isabelle can zone. She can zone with her forward air, her back air, dash attack, down special. Down special can actually be really good for area control. Isabelle's recovery is exploitable, and that's one of the reasons why Isabelle is in top tier. That really holds the character back. You've also got side special, which is really good, for grappling. You can do some shenanigans with that. Obviously, you can kill with grapple and then up throw the opponent, for example. Isabelle also has Isabelle has surprisingly good frame data for such a campy character too. Also has a really good up tilt. You can get some surprisingly good up tilt up air combos. I think Isabelle's down smash is like frame 6 or something, frame 5, frame 6. So surprisingly good frame data. Isabelle has a lot going for herself, and I really do think this character is underrated. So that's really all there is to say on that. But I think this character is very underrated. Honestly, with optimization, I wouldn't be surprised to see this character sneak into the bottom of top tier. Speaking of top tier, or speaking of bottom of top tier, next up is Inkling. I'm going to go ahead and put Inkling at the bottom of top tier. Some people, think that Inkling fell off to the point of being high tier, and I disagree. Inkling is a really good character. You have moves with disjoints like back air. You've got the hurt box that's really small because of the way Inkling, runs, the running animation. You've got really good combos. You've got, back throw. You've got kill confirms with up throw. You relatively small hurt box, medium weight. There's a lot going for Inkling. Inkling's main problem to me is mainly dealing with disjoint characters. Because while Inkling has a couple of disjointed moves, just a couple of them, but I still think Inkling is top tier. I still think Inkling's kit is incredibly good and definitely worth checking out. Next up is Joker, and To no one's surprise, Joker is going at the top of top tier. Obviously, I mean, we've all seen what MKLeo can do. You know, most of us are familiar with Joker's kit. Joker with Arsene is the best character in the game. Obviously, Joker without Arsene has a very good recovery, has disjoints that are also relatively fast, really good combos, you know, just being able to stall with bullets really good. Like Incineroar, Joker has a really good disadvantage state. Like Incineroar's down... like Incineroar, Joker's down special is a frame 3 move. So again, you know, putting Joker in disadvantage or keeping him there can be very difficult. So, very, very good character, in my opinion. Still probably the best character in the game, if not top 3. Next up is going to be Ivysaur. I'm actually going to go ahead and put Ivysaur probably in low, high tier. Ivysaur has good range. Ivysaur obviously has the down air shenanigans. The main thing holding Ivysaur back is just not being that fast. And, you know, because of that, a lot of brawlers and rushdown characters can just kind of combo Ivysaur for days. But Ivysaur, I still think is a pretty solid character, though. You know, to get the most out of this character, you're going to want to take advantage of their disjoints and how good down air is. You're going to get a lot of free edge guards thanks to down air. But, yeah, solid character. Next up is Jigglypuff. I'm going to put Jigglypuff at the bottom of low-high tier. Jigglypuff is a character where a big part of Jigglypuff's skill and ultimate really boils down to this. How good is your opponent's recovery? If your opponent's recovery is not that good, then Jigglypuff can have a field day. Jigglypuff is one of the best edge guarders in the game. I find that for characters with, mediocre or bad recoveries, you know, as the Jigglypuff player, you can forward throw them because forward throw got buffed, and forward throw is actually a really good edge guard tool. Really good for start, or really good for, it's a really good tool for using at the edge of the stage for putting your opponent in a bad situation to get edge guard by Jigglypuff. That's the best way to put it. It all flows really well. Obviously, you do have the rest combos too. You have Sing stalling at the ledge. This character has a couple of tricks up their sleeve. Down air, auto canceling from a full hop. From a short hop. So I put Jigglypuff in low-high tier. Alright, next up is going to be Kazuya. I would say, for now, I'm going to put Kazuya, probably at the top of the middle of high tier. Kazuya is a character, again, pretty explosive right now. I do think the character is just a little overrated. But at the same time, though, Kazuya might be the character I'm the least sure about on this tier list. I could easily see Kazuya growing on this tier list as time goes by. I'd say the main weakness of Kazuya is, low range. A lot of disjoint characters can kind of safely put out hitboxes, and that can be hard for him to deal with. He can get zoned, but obviously he also does have reflectors, so it gets kind of tricky. But, I'll sell for middle high tier, and this character could rise, as the metagame progresses, honestly. Alright, next up is Ken. I'm going to go ahead and put Ken at a high mid tier. Ken has some really, really good combos, but Ken also has very exploitable recovery, really low range, and all in all, this character, they're good, but they do have flaws, a lot of flaws, that in my opinion hold them back. So I wouldn't put Ken any higher than high mid tier. Again, really good close quarters combat character, though. That can't be stressed enough. You've also got some, depending on the percent guaranteed kills, for example, up tilt, up special, up air into Shoryuken up special. So, alright, next up is King DDD. I'm going to put King DDD in the top of low-high tier. Obviously a heavy character, huge hurt box, gets comboed. Thankfully has Nair that can really help deal with, getting at a disadvantage by being able to put that quick hitbox out. Good recovery for a heavy, the multiple jumps, the armor, and super DDD. You got Gordo, which obviously can be reflected back at you, but can still be very useful, especially when edge guarding. Another really good thing that DDD has is down special. DDD gets armor when using down special on the ground. I think for the first 15 frames or something. I've actually used DDD's down special kind of like, you're intended to use Ryu and Ken's down special, where you armor through an attack and then put out your own. But obviously, DDD has super armor, so it doesn't matter how many, they can use multi-hits, doesn't matter. You're going to hit them. So I think down special is kind of underused among DDD players. Obviously, you have the disjoint with the hammer. I think DDD is pretty good. Alright. Next up is going to be Kirby. I'm going to put Kirby in mid-tier. I actually think that Kirby, full disclosure, I think Kirby's the worst character in the game. But I don't think Kirby's bad, and that's why Kirby's in mid-tier instead of, say, low-tier, or bottom-tier, or, God forbid, trash-tier. Kirby's not good, but Kirby's also not bad. Kirby just has an abundance of weaknesses that hold him back. Kirby lacks range, Kirby's not very fast, Kirby gets zoned. This character has a lot of flaws, but on the other hand, pretty decent edge guarder. Obviously, you small hurt box, you can make it even smaller by ducking. This and good frame data. The character does have a couple of things going for them, but in my opinion, the flaws make it so I couldn't put Kirby any higher. And again, in my opinion, I think Kirby is the worst character in the game. Alright, next up is going to be King K. Rool. I'm actually going to put King K. Rool in borderline high tier, which might surprise some people. King K. Rool has a surprisingly good recovery with the hitbox to cover it. King K. Rool also has moves like Nair, which have surprisingly good frame data. More importantly, I think a real strength of King K. Rool that keeps him here, there are two of them. The first one is obviously the belly armor. Belly armor really helps. They even, when they buff belly armor, that really helped the move out, or the mechanic out. But also, King K. Rool is actually a pretty competent zoner. Between neutral special and crown, I mean, you can actually find yourself getting zoned by King K. Rool. Not to mention he has moves like forward throw and back throw, so if the opponent approaches and gets grabbed, alright, well, you can throw them to the other side of the stage, or King K. Rool can edge guard them. King K. Rool has plenty of kill power. This character just has quite a bit going for them. Obviously, they do have some flaws, which is why they're not any higher on the list. But I think King K. Rool has enough going for him for me to put him in borderline high tier. Alright, next up is Link. And I'm going to put Link at the bottom of mid-high tier. Link obviously has an explodable recovery. Link is not that fast, but Link has disjoints. Link is a zoner, and a very good zoner, and can be very frustrating to deal with depending on the opponent's kit. Link has a lot of lingering hitboxes. For example, up air. The hitbox is just out forever, and that's very good for catching opponents and juggling them. Bomb is really, really good. Bomb is the main reason why Link is in mid-high tier, because Bomb is just so good. So, I'll comfortably put Link in, the middle of high tier. Next up is Little Mac. I'm actually putting Little Mac in a high mid tier. I think Little Mac is actually underrated. I said this in a previous video, but obviously Little Mac has some incredibly bad flaws, but some incredibly good strengths. But one of Little Mac's strengths that I feel people aren't really taking advantage of, Little Mac is very fast. And I personally feel that a lot of Little Macs need to play lame, or lamer, I should say. I think that optimal Little Mac plays lame. Little Mac is incredibly fast, both on the ground and in the air too. So you can actually just, run away from your opponent for quite a bit. So, obviously this character has some really, really strong flaws. Some really good, really, really bad flaws, but some really good strengths while on the ground. But again, the character's speed and frame data, I feel like as the metagame progresses, I want to see more people taking advantage of those things. Next up is Lucario, who goes at the bottom of high mid tier. Lucario has a mechanic, aura that makes it so as it takes damage, it becomes stronger. But they also made it lighter in this game compared to Smash 4 for some reason. Its recovery is exploitable. It can zone, but not very good. It has pretty much no answers for zoning, so it's going to get zoned pretty hard. It doesn't really have good range. It's going to be outranged by disjoint characters. A lot of brawlers in Rushdown have better frame data than in Lucario. Lucario's frame data also isn't really that good. So, high mid tier. I mean, when this character is at late percent with aura, they're scary. But, the question is, can they survive long enough to take advantage of that? And then, let's say they take a stock. Well, can they take another stock, So, the fear factor's there, but I'd say high mid tier. Alright, next up is Lucas. I'm going to put Lucas, I'd say at the bottom of mid-high tier. Lucas has one of the best recoveries in the game. Really good. Lucas has, obviously, the tether, which can also help for, kill throws. Up throw, forward throw, back throw. Lucas can zone with side special and also up special and certainly neutral special. Lucas has disjoints on just about everything. Lucas can deal with zoning with down special or reflect with forward smash. Lucas has a pretty good up smash, slow, but has the invincibility, which can surprise the opponent. So, Lucas is a good character. It's not a great character. Lucas does, I'm trying to figure out the word for it. Lucas will get outranged. Like, Lucas is a disjoint character, but again, compared to certain sword characters, Lucas will still get outranged. A lot of Lucas's moves lack the hitbox duration, so a lot of Lucas's hitboxes aren't out as long as a lot of sword characters. So, little things like that, Lucas can still get zoned, hurt the character, but still, solid character, in my opinion. Alright, next up is going to be Lucina. I'm going to go ahead and put Lucina at the very top of middle of high tier. I actually think Lucina is a little bit overrated. Lucina is, in my opinion, a pretty balanced character. Lucina has a bunch of good disjoints that are out for a long time, good hitbox duration. Lucina has a good but not great recovery. Lucina is pretty quick, but also can get zoned. Frame data wise, Lucina's frame data is not that good, so rushdowns can combo Lucina, to heck and back and forth. So the character has flaws, but obviously I think the strengths outweigh the flaws. But I wouldn't say Lucina's top tier like a lot of people feel. I don't think Lucina has enough going for herself to be top tier. Alright, next up is Luigi. I'm going to put Luigi along with Kirby in mid-tier. The thing about Luigi is Luigi has some of the best grab combos in the game, no doubt. Obviously Luigi has kill throws as well. Obviously, great out of shield with up special. But Luigi is very, very slow. Very slow. Luigi's recovery is extremely exploitable. Luigi's projectile is not that good. Like, the range for Luigi's fireball isn't really that good. So, as far as zoning goes, it's actually not that good for zoning. Better than nothing, but not very good. And so, the thing about Luigi is he's polarizing. Obviously, he can zero death you with certain combos, but his recovery is really exploitable. You can gimp him really easily. He's also low range. So, very, very polarizing character. Unfortunately, in his case, I think that the strengths aren't good enough to quite crack into high mid tier. Next up is Mario. I'm going to put Mario at, towards the top of low-high tier. Again, this is another hot take. A lot of people think Mario's top tier. I don't think Mario's top tier. I do think he's, more towards the bottom of high tier. Mario has great frame data. Mario has really good combos. Obviously, the up air to up B special. But Mario also, he's fast, but he's not that fast. Disjoint characters are going to have a field day with him. They just outrange him very well. He has cape to deal with zoning, but the nature of cape also means that, the reflecting hitbox is only out for so long, and certain zoners can play around with that. But really, the main thing holding Mario back is, the lack of range, but also his recovery is also not that good. His up special, it's not that good, surprisingly. So, low-high tier. Next up is Marth. I'm going to go ahead and put Marth at the bottom of high tier. I'd say more towards the middle, lower of low-high tier. Obviously, unlike Lucina, Marth has a tipper mechanic, and this makes him much more inconsistent than Lucina. But he's still a strong character, though. Still a very good disjoint character who's very quick. I just don't think the risk-reward ends up being as good as Lucina's. Next up is Mega Man. I'm going to put Mega Man in, I'd say put Mega Man at more towards the top of high tier. The bottom of the top of high tier. Mega Man is a really good zoner in a game where zoning's really good, but he also has some pretty good disjoints as well that frame data wise are not too bad either. Lemons can also really pester. His recovery, while exploitable, is still also really good. He also has a kill throw in the form of back throw. Dealing with his tornadoes he shoots out with up air can be very, very difficult for certain characters. He's heavy, he survives for a long time. His hurt box isn't really that big. I definitely feel comfortable putting this character towards the top of high tier. Next up is Meta Knight, and Meta Knight's going in mid tier with Kirby and Luigi. Meta Knight is a character who, he's quick, and he does have disjoints, but he has plenty of and a good recovery, but he has plenty of problems holding him back. So the thing about disjoint characters is generally, disjoint characters have really good hitbox duration on their moves. So their moves are out for a long time. But Meta Knight doesn't have that, though. A lot of his moves are only out for 1 or 2, maybe 3 frames. That really holds the character back. Just really poor hitbox duration. Meta Knight can also struggle to kill. Good edgeguarder, but not a great edgeguarder. He's no Pikachu, for example. So, unfortunately, again, the character's flaws kind of, hold the character back from being any higher, I think, on the tier list. Alright, next up is Mewtwo. I'm going to put Mewtwo at the top of high tier. Mewtwo is a very good character. Very solid kit. Obviously has a large hurt box. And can get comboed because of it. Comboed, just like crazy. But Mewtwo has so many strengths. Like, Mewtwo is a classic example. Mewtwo is a character who, on paper, because of, its large hurt box, it should be, bad. But because of, all the things Mewtwo has going for itself, zoning with neutral special, obviously, you have some disable shenanigans. Mewtwo has a reflector that really helps. A teleport recovery, a floaty double jump. The range that up air grants. And so, really good throws. And so, these things make it so Mewtwo ends up at the top of high tier and might even crack it into top tier one day. Alright, next up is Mii Brawler. I'm going to put Mii Brawler, I'd say, in low-high tier. Mii Brawler is a very similar case to Mario, in all honesty. Pretty quick. Really good frame data. Can struggle to kill. Is going to get outranged by sword characters. Unlike Mario, doesn't have a reflector, so will get zoned more. So a good character with some flaws holding them back. Also, this character just have a much better recovery than Mario. Alright, next up is Mii Gunner. I'm going to put Me Gunner, I would say, at the bottom of mid-high tier. Me Gunner can be one of the most frustrating zoners to deal with in this game. And that really works to Me Gunner's benefit. Me Gunner also has a relatively small hurt box that also really helps the character too. So I put this, the main weakness of the character is, you're not that fast, and none of Me Gunner's recovery options are really that good. They leave Me Gunner vulnerable, but I'd put Me Gunner at the bottom of mid-high. Next up is Me Sword Fighter. I'm going to put Me Sword Fighter in at the top of high tier. I think this character is slept on. Now, for weaknesses, the main one for Me Sword Fighter is Me Sword Fighter can struggle to kill, but also Me Sword Fighter's hitbox duration for certain moves also aren't that good. Still, I think Me Sword Fighter is slept on. You have a disjointed character who also can zone, but can also reflect, because you have your option for down special as a reflector. So a disjointed character who can also zone, but also has a reflector. I really do think that Me Sword Fighter is a very, very slept-on character with a lot of potential. Alright, next up is Min Min. I'm going to put Min Min at the top of top tier. Min Min is another character I think is very underrated. Min Min, if you're a really patient Min Min, man, I mean, you're gonna lose very few matches. Obviously, Min Min has insane range, a really good recovery, has a reflector for some reason, can cover both directions at the same time. Pretty decent out of shield frame data. Just Min Min has this character has so much going for them. So much. Frame data is not that good. Rush downs can come in and obviously combo Min Min and whatnot. But still, really good character. Alright, Mr. Game & Watch. I'm going to put Mr. Game & Watch at the bottom of top tier. Great out of shield. Bucket's broken. Down special's really good. Neutral special's pretty good, especially when it comes to harassing people at the ledge. Great frame data, obviously intangibility and up smash. Really annoying up air, which works for Game & Watch. A lot going for Game & Watch. Just the character can struggle to kill, and also, is very light, so will die early. Alright, Mithra. I'll just do Pyra and Mithra, obviously. Pyra and Mithra go at the top of top tier. This is a pretty standard opinion. Those two characters are just together so good, such a good character. I'm actually not really going to touch on it because it's been discussed so much, but Pyra and Mithra are very, very, very good characters together. All right, up next is Ness. I'm going to put Ness in borderline high tier. Obviously, Ness can harass people at the ledge with yo-yo. Ness's recovery, kind of good, but you can mess with his recovery. Best back throw in the game, or maybe the second best. Can zone and combo with PK Fire, some of the down special combo shenanigans. But again, Ness is going to be outranged by disjoint characters. Rush downs with better frame data are going to combo him. And zoners can zone him. He does have forward smash, but that's about it. So unless he's dealing with energy projectiles, and even then they can catch him off guard. So I'd say borderline high tier. Let's see, Pac-Man. I'm going to put Pac-Man, I'd say at the top of low high tier. Pac-Man, surprisingly good frame data for a zoner. But he does have an explodable recovery that a lot of players don't really push, punishing his recovery like they should. But really good frame data, really good zoner. Again, just, lacks range, so disjoint characters are going to take advantage of that. And has a really explodable recovery that really holds the character back. That's pretty much it. Still, really good character. Next up is Palutena. I'm going to put Palutena in, I'd say, the the middle, or yeah, the middle of top tier. Obviously, Palutena has some incredibly good disjoints. Palutena has up air, which is really good. This character, prior to the nerfs, man, probably would have been at top tier. But despite the nerfs, just Palutena just has a really good kit. I'm gonna leave it at that. All right, next up is going to be Pichu. I'm going to put Pichu in borderline top tier. The thing about Pichu is, again, pretty polarizing character. Damages itself, it's light, no hitbox on the recovery, but at the same time, Pikachu's strength, man, this character can get out of control so fast. Really good combos, much better kill power than Pikachu. Smaller hitbox than Pikachu. Pichu is a character, I'll put it this way, you know, if you make the most of Pichu's strengths, you can do some insane things. Alright, next up is Pikachu. I'm going to put Pikachu, I'd say I put Pikachu in the middle of high tier. Now, I know this is going to be a really controversial opinion, but ever since I've been thinking this for a long time now. I'll give an example. So during the Smash 4 days, a lot of people were like, "Oh, Pikachu's top tier. Pikachu's top tier." As the metagame progressed, Pikachu went lower and lower on the tier lists. And that's kind of how I feel about Pikachu in this game. I feel like Pikachu has been overhyped. Obviously, one of the best edgeguarders in the game. Really good disadvantage state thanks to quick attack. Really good combo game, but Pikachu is light and dies early. Pikachu will struggle to kill outside of edge guarding, maybe down smash near the ledge. Pikachu is going to get outranged also, that's another big thing. Executing Pikachu's combos can be kind of tricky, and so Pikachu is a glass cannon, but again, Pikachu can be very tricky to deal with, in my opinion. Alright, I already kind of talked about Pit. Pretty similar to Dark Pit, so I'm going to leave that there. Let's see. Pokémon Trainer is going to go on top tier. 3 characters in 1. I kind of think that's inherently broken. But again, together, these characters just work so well. Let's see. Simon and Richter. That's a tricky one. I'm going to put Simon and Richter... Yeah, I'm going to put them at the top of high tier. I think these are, again, underrated characters. The best way to put it is this way, for Simon and Richter. If they had a better recovery, I think that they would have the potential to be top tier. I think that's the main weakness of the characters, is their recovery just isn't very good. Otherwise, you have a really, really strong character. Great zoning, great range, thanks to their whip. Heavy. This character can be very tricky to deal with. So, again, hot take, but I'd say top of high tier. Ridley. Ooh. I'm going to put Ridley at the top of low high tier. I think Ridley's kind of slept on. Ridley has a good recovery, has a great range. Neutral special can be tricky to deal with depending on the character. Yeah, I think I'll put Ridley in the hot. Ridley does have... this is well known. Ridley does have flaws, having a large hurt box. Getting combo, not the best frame data, but yeah. I'll put Ridley low high tier. Rob. Oh, Rob is definitely going at the top of top tier. Rob's another character a lot of people have been talking about. The character has so many strengths. I'll just talk about the weaknesses. Rob's recovery is exploitable, though there are ways around that. And Rob does have a large hurt box, and so can get comboed. And Rob's disadvantage is not that good, but otherwise, this character is amazing. All right, I'm gonna put Robin and in high mid tier. Robin's a good zoner, but not a great one. Robin's recovery is exploitable. Obviously, I forget what the sword's called, the electric sword, but that wears off after a certain period of time. And just dealing with the tome mechanic can be kind of tricky. But still, good zoner. Not a great one, though, and I think that holds the character back. Rosalina and Luma, I'm going to put them actually at low top tier. I think this character is very slept on and has a lot of potential. Good recovery that's exploitable, but still good recovery. Obviously, Luma, and Luma's a sword of a sort, and so that can really help out. Yeah, I think this character has a lot of untapped potential. Alright, next up I'm going to do Ryu. For Ryu, yeah, I'd say high mid-tier. Similar deal to Ken, bad, exploitable recovery. Is going to get outranged by disjoints, is going to get zoned by zoners. Similar deal. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put Sephiroth and Borderline high tier. Great range, great recovery, the one wing mechanic, neutral special, just really solid character, but I hope to see more from the character, because they do have flaws. Next up is Sheik. I'm going to put Sheik in high mid-tier. Yeah, Sheik is a character who, if Sheik just had kill power, would be top tier. But because Sheik does it, and also Sheik is really light, it ends up putting Sheik all the way down to high mid-tier. I could get into it more. I could go on a whole spiel about Sheik, but I'm not going to. Let's see. Next up is Shulk. I'm going to put Shulk in high mid-tier. I'm going to put Shulk in borderline high tier. I'm going to put Shulk in borderline high tier. Shulk is a character who I do think Shulk is overrated. I do. But at the same time, while I'd say Shulk is overrated, yeah, no, the biggest strength of Shulk is definitely that recovery. His recovery isn't very good. His disadvantage state's really bad. Again, I think this character's overrated, but I wouldn't sleep on Shulk, especially with the Monado arts mechanic. So much is possible. Alright, let's see who's left. Snake is going in, I'd say the middle of top tier. Just Snake shenanigans. I'm going to put Sonic. Sonic's a little bit trickier. I want to see more from Sonic. I'm going to go ahead and put Sonic, I'd say the top of high tier. I do want to see more from Sonic. Sora. It's another tricky one. Well, I'd put Sora at the middle of high tier. I'd want to see more from that character. Sora's the newest character too, of course. For the rest of these characters, I won't talk much about them. I'm going to try to close this video out. It's already gone long enough. Alright, Roy. Roy is actually going to go in... I guess I'll put Roy in borderline high tier. Roy's a character, many people think of him as top tier. I think Roy's incredibly overrated. His strengths are really good. The problem is his weaknesses are really bad. Really bad disadvantage state. His recovery is very exploitable, but also it's honestly not that good. He can struggle to kill if he's not getting his sweet spots. I just think this character is very overrated. Not bad, though. Not bad. He's definitely good, and man, when he's getting his combos, he can be very, very scary to deal with, but really good. Alright, Simon and Richter, both, I'd probably put them both top of high tier. Alright, let's see, Terry. I think Terry and his auto combos are underrated. Jab, jab into imagination. I'm actually going to put Terry at, I'm going to put Terry actually at the top of top tier. The bottom of the top of top tier. Toon Link, I'm going to put Toon Link in, I'm going to put Toon Link at the top of high tier. Very solid character. Again, disjoints, quick, Also can zone, small hurt box. I would say not as good as Young Link, but still really good. Villager. Tricky. I'll put Villager in the middle of high tier for now. Villager, you know, pretty much a similar deal to Isabelle. Won't go into it too much. Wario. Oof. I put Wario, I'd say probably at the middle of high tier. Or, sorry, middle of top tier, I should say. Because of how good Waft is, you know, how mobile the character is, the great airspeed, etc. Wii Fit Trainer, I'm going to put actually at the top of high tier. Again, I'm not sure what the consensus is on Wii Fit Trainer, but I think Wii Fit Trainer is underrated. Really good kit. Can deal with zoning surprisingly well. Zones themselves, you know, with their neutral special and side special, surprisingly good frame data. Their down special is kind of like a Cloud's limit of its own. Really good. Alright, Wolf, I'm going to put in actually mid-high tier. I think Wolf is carried by Blaster, I'm going to be honest. I think Wolf's carried by Blaster, straight up. Wolf's really good, but again, the character... They're going to get outranged by disjoint characters. Their recovery isn't really that good, and I think that really holds Wolf back. So, and again, the character's carried by Blaster, in my opinion. Not a point against it, but just mentioning. Yoshi, I'm going to actually put Yoshi the top of low top tier. Yoshi, in my opinion, is really good. I think Yoshi's the king of frame traps. I said that Falco's the prince of frame traps. Yoshi's the king of frame traps. Yoshi's really good. And Yoshi does have his flaws, but you know, having the double jump armor, having the great frame data, good kill power, yeah, I think Yoshi's definitely low top tier. Young Link, ooh, I'll put Young Link, I'd say at the middle of top tier. Again, Young Link is another character. This character is commonly thought of as being top tier. At least last time I checked. The character's strengths are well known. I'll leave the character right here. Alright, and last are two characters. Zero Suit Samus, I'm going to put in top of high tier. Very good character, but Zero Suit has some inconsistencies that, you know, because of that, I'll put Zero Suit in top of high tier instead of top tier. Zero Suit's a character who, like, she's almost top tier. You play her, and she's almost top tier. But she's not quite. Little inconsistencies, people falling out of some of your moves, like up tilt. But still, she's a really good character. Not at all to be underestimated. And last, Zelda, I'm actually going to put more towards the middle of mid-high tier. Zelda's another character. I think Zelda's incredibly underrated. Maybe because there aren't too many Zelda players. Zelda has the lightning kicks, which come out really fast. Zelda has, you know, combos with down throw, up throw kills. I think it's the strongest up throw in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely one of the strongest up throws. Forward throw and back throw are good for edge guarding. You know, has moves like jab for, you know, good get off me moves on stage. Yeah, I'm actually getting kind of hungry to mention that. But yeah, I think Zelda slept on, and I think that Zelda, similar to Isabelle, has some untapped potential. Just waiting for a player to take advantage of it. But yeah, that's the tier list. I actually managed to do just about everybody. Hopefully I didn't forget anyone. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to make more content moving forward. And I hope to upload this soon as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me for my subscribers. I know it's been a rough road for you guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'll be trying to upload more content, and I'm definitely aiming for a really good 2023 content-wise. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you later. Thank you for watching, and for the subscribers, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for sticking around. Alright, bye-bye.